is your host, Cain Stevens. All right, everybody, welcome back to the Cain Stevens Super Show, the super show in all the land. I am your super host, Cain Stevens, and if you can say super as many times as me, I'll give you $5 or $10. So I've got another great guest on my hands. We've been knocking it out of the park. She hails from England, I believe, right? From London.
Well, actually, Northwest. I have lived in
Northwest.
London, but
Okay.
not at the
We
moment.
all think that everywhere in England is just London, so
London.
I apologize for that. Us stupid
Okay.
Americans, right? But I have an awesome guest, Dr. Saloni Surah, everybody. I think I just butchered her last name, but she'll school me up on how to pronounce her last name. How do you pronounce your last name again?
Surah, Saloni Surah. So you
Surah.
weren't bad.
It was close. It's better than my actual last name, which I don't share with a lot of people because they can't spell it and they can't find me. So, how are you doing today?
I'm good. Yeah. Yeah. You made me laugh then with all your supers.
That's the point, right? I don't know why I
Yeah.
started doing that. I just thought it's just it used to be the paranormal show, super show. You always add super to it because then you like make people think they're in for something, they're in for a show, like a circus.
I don't think I've got paranormal for you, but I could do with a good laugh today. So let's see what we can
Well,
come up with.
we're certainly gonna try. I definitely want to get weird with all my guests. I'm a strange guy. Anybody who knows me gets to know really quick that I'm kind of a freak of nature, So and that's okay. I enjoy life. I enjoy the weird and the strange, and but you're not weird and the strange. You do a lot of very normal things too. So, well, you could be, but let's talk about it a little bit here.
Okay.
So you're a doctor, which I've had another doctor on the show before. And I'm just always amazed by you guys and like the amount of time you put into, becoming
Yes.
that. How much schooling did you have to do to become a doctor in what you were in the
Oh
field?
my gosh, a lot. So I did 5 years of med school. I did a BSc as well. So in our university, you could go into the final year of a BSc and get a BSc. Surprisingly enough, it was one of the easiest years of med school because it probably wasn't as tough as med school. I then did my nights and exams and the PhD. So yeah, I did my time. Lots of
Yeah.
night shifts and crazy stuff then. Yeah. Yeah,
You put your time in. Yeah,
I
I wish
did.
I had applied myself more. Like I went to college. I had a football scholarship. I blew that. And then I partied for a while. Then I went to more college and then I hated it. And then it was just like, I think I'll just work. Like so I became like an electrician, the working man out there. But everybody needs floor sweepers and and that type of stuff too, right?
Absolutely. But you start that journey at like
Yeah.
18, and you're a totally different person by the end of it. So it's there are a lot of sacrifices, sometimes I think kind of unnecessarily so. I've missed a lot. But it's what it is. We all
Yeah.
make our choices. So yeah.
So
Yeah.
how did you go from doing this to becoming a published author and being an author of children's books and different how did you kind of roll into that?
Well, funnily enough, it's when I was doing my PhD. So I was a med student in 2000 and I went my first backpacking trip to Australia. Super excited. Anyway, the night before I was due to go, my granddad died. And so it was all touch and go whether or not I'd go. And, pre-mobile phones, I was late for the plane. My friend was like, where have you been? And I was like, my granddad died. Anyway, we first stopped with Sydney and I ended up going to this psychic. We all went, it was a bit of fun. We were like 19. And she said to me, you're going to be a writer. You're going to travel the world. And I was like, I don't think so. I'm a doctor. Anyway, 20 plus years down the line, I have published. But for me, I started when I was doing my PhD. So that was in 2010. So I was doing a PhD on HIV and drug use, and I started writing. I think it was such scientific writing that I was doing and heavy going. I just started writing about fairies and magic and dragons and just wanted to play, really. It took me quite a while because I was, finishing the PhD and then consultant and all of that stuff and getting that time to sit down and do it. So I've written quite a few books. This is my fourth book that I've published first. And my second will be out hopefully February.
And that's
So it's
awesome.
been a journey. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm always in awe. I always wanted to be a writer. I can be a writer, especially in today's day and age, right? With Amazon publishing and all of that. You can be a writer. A lot back in the days, it was a lot harder to, you had to find somebody who wanted to publish your book and and
So,
fund
I
it,
mean,
right?
I self-published,
Yeah, well, there you
and
go.
yeah, I did. I self-published. I did the whole thing. So I've done courses, I've done conferences, I've done the agent one-to-ones. I've got good feedback. I've had a couple read the whole thing. It was just where I was in my life. I'd had a couple of tricky years with work. I'd had two babies and I wanted to move on. And I didn't want to wait the 2 years. So, you get an agent take you on, publishing house, it's 2 years. And I wanted to move on. So I decided, look, I'm going to do this myself.
Yeah.
I'm just going for it. And that was just where my life was at. So I will probably start with agents again. They both got their good and bad points. What is beautiful is that it does open that field up to people, because it's not always easy. So there was a big thing, and I remember going to this conference in Winchester, and they said it was very much minorities weren't being represented in the publishing world, and you
Mhm.
could see why. It was full of older Caucasian women, and it was financial because you had to pay to go to the conference, you had to pay to stay, and if you wanted the one-to-one with agents, you had to pay. So there's a lot of people who can't afford that.
Is that due to is that due to racism? I mean, is racism pretty rampant in your areas of England?
I don't think that it is, but I think it might be financial. If you look at certain minorities, they often aren't well represented or financially well off. And with a lot of this, you were having to, people do get agents with just submitting, but for like a lot of the conferences and stuff where you knew that your books would get looked at, you were having to, to pay to go to the conference and pay to
Right.
to go to that. So you have seen more lately with scholarships and things for people that underrepresented um, minorities, and agents saying that they're looking for that. But certainly, I remember going to that conference, going, "Wow, it was very non-diverse at the time." There was very few men and younger people, and it was that demographic that were there.
Well, can I
Um,
ask what nationality or what heritage you come from? Like what's your family lineage?
Yes, of course. So I was born and brought up in the UK, but my parents are Indian. So they came over to the UK kind of 60s, 70s, when a
Mhm.
lot of people moved. So, born and brought up here, British passport, British, but yes, I suppose I am an underrepresented minority, certainly in the publishing world.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Well, that's an interesting thing you bring up. America is not that different than where you guys are. Like
Yeah.
we kind of have the same cultures in a way, but we're also very different too. I mean, there's a big gap there between that ocean between us. And it's like here we're a melting pot of people, all people. Everybody came to America for whatever. But I mean, how is it is in England? I mean, do you guys have a lot of immigration issues in terms of like people are rushing there because it's so good?
Yes, I mean we do, we don't. So it depends on where you are in the country. So I've lived all over. I lived in Ireland, I've lived in the UK, I lived in London, lived in Australia. I mean, London is so incredibly diverse. Manchester is, and it is much more diverse where I live now than when I was growing up. Um, and I just think that's everywhere. We're all mixing and traveling and moving to different places, and it's good and bad. So it's got good points and bad points. But yeah, I mean, London is beautifully diverse. It's phenomenal. But the interesting thing about London is there's some people who are not from the UK who've never left it. Who haven't traveled outside the country, and it can be so different to the rest of the country in ways.
Yeah. Man, I gotta share with you, I for some reason I'm like obsessed with with you guys' culture, like the music, the music scene. Obviously, like in my head, all the best actors in the world like come from. I mean, like, isn't that obvious? Like every single movie has like the best actors, and they're either like playing the role of an American with like an American accent, or they just have that straight up accent. And I don't know what is it. I mean, everything you guys say sounds smart or sounds good, and we sound like a bunch of like idiots. Like, so I'm gonna test you here for a second if you'll play along, okay?
Okay.
I'm gonna give you a relatively ridiculous American thing to say, and I wanna hear
Okay.
you say it, and I want to see if it sounds as cool as I think it's gonna sound. If you're willing to play,
Of course, yeah.
okay. So the first thing I want you to say is, "I seen it."
I've seen it.
See, it sounds cooler with you. I sound like a redneck idiot, and you sound sophisticated. Okay. Let me think of something else that American would say. Do you guys say y'all at all? You guys ever say y'all on any?
No, you all? No,
All right,
no.
so say y'all come back now. You hear?
You all come back now, you hear.
See, see I would listen to that all day long. But if somebody
Thank
talked
you.
to me the way I said it, I'd probably beat my head against the wall. So I proved my point right here.
Okay. Well, thank you. I
But
think.
anyways, I really do though. I love all of it's like like my favorite show is Game of Thrones. There were a lot of British actors on that show.
Yes. Yes.
There's a lot of British actors and everything. What are some of your favorite shows from America?
Do you know what? I don't watch a lot of TV anymore now.
Okay.
I've got two young children, and I actually I had to start detoxing purely for time. So I
Yeah.
actually watch a little. I'm trying to think of what I last watched. At the moment, I'm watching The Couple Next Door.
Okay.
So I was watching that last night with my husband, but I don't think that's American.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. Yeah, I don't watch that much. I did. No, the last time I went to the cinema, I did go and see Top Gun Maverick. And I was like, my husband wasn't that fussed. My husband's Italian, and I was like, look, I want to go. I know it's going to be cheesy. I know it's going to be exactly the same, but I want to see it.
Yeah. Well, what'd you think about it? What do you like Tom Cruise as an actor?
I mean,
He's all right.
he's got as good and bad points. He's doing one thing, which is action. It's exciting. I don't watch it all the time, but what I find hard sometimes is that I want to watch something uplifting. So a lot of stuff is depressing and murder, and it makes you feel depressed. So
Right.
that's why I'm much more conscious about watching TV, because I'd rather spend my time reading a book or writing or doing something that makes me feel a bit more upbeat, if I'm being honest with you. So that's one of the other reasons why I detoxed a bit off TV and movies.
Well, I think that that's kind of a cautionary tale to all the listeners is that, if we kind of turned off all of these devices, stopped looking at so much social media, stopped watching all of this stuff, maybe we would be better. You told me earlier that you were out in the woods or something, like that to me is like a perfect day, just walking around, maybe there's a lake or a river or something, a creek that I can walk by. That sounds pretty good to me, instead of all of this. Unfortunately, we kind of need it now too. Like I wouldn't have connected with you. I mean, here I am, college dropout, talking to a doctor, a law, or a author, somebody who's accomplished some things from across the world. So, I mean, it does have its merits, right?
I think it's wonderful. Firstly, you run a podcast, and
Yeah.
there's no distinction. We all are wonderful. We all do things, and it's not about you having done this and me having done that. So yes, two, it is wonderful. It does connect us. But one of my things with TV was everything was just murder and depressing. So I don't know whether you've got soaps there, but there's certain soaps here where it's just like you want to kill yourself at the end.
Yeah.
Or like I remember years ago, if I was watching the news before bed, I actually wouldn't sleep. I just couldn't sleep because I was so upset by it all. Now, yes, we were messaging earlier and out in the woods, but let me tell you one of the reasons. I mean, I go out when I get time, but today I was in one of the big libraries in town. We've got this lovely library in Chester called the Story House, and it's like a cinema and a theatre and a library. and a coffee shop. It's beautiful. It used to be an old cinema. It's one of the nice things about the city, and it's open late. So I went down to do a read aloud. It's, the schools are off, and I thought, this is going to be great. And they said, look, usually they get 20 to 30. So I was all excited. I had my books, I had some magnets, I had my detective kit because it's about detectives and coloring sheets. And it was lovely, but I had about 4 children. So I was like, oh, and the kids were up early. My daughter was screaming at 6 in the morning. Then my son was screaming at 7, saying he didn't want to go to nursery. And it was just one of those days. So I was like, I'm going to the woods. I need to get out and
Yeah.
unwind and just switch off for a bit. Yeah.
Well, you never can take it. You never know what people are gonna do. Like when you're in any facet of entertainment. Like I'm a musician. I used to play a lot live, and man,
Mm.
you'd go to some shows and there would be like two people, and they were the barflies that didn't care that you were there, and I would still put on a show. I mean, I would still roll around on the ground and play my guitar like an idiot and all that. But you gotta entertain people. I mean, you're entertaining people in a different way, but I get it. I mean, I used to hate those days. Like I like being as weird as it is. Like I'm a big anxious person, but I can animate myself around people. But then when
Mm.
I go home, I'm like the complete opposite. Like, I could be a hermit if I wanted to and hide. but
Okay. Okay.
but you kind of turn that on and off. And so I hated that when I would have a show, then they're paying me and then the people wouldn't come, because then you like sit there and you think to yourself, man, what did I do? Do they not like what I'm doing? And I'm not saying that's the case for you. I would guess that probably if people are out of school and everything else, people just have things going on, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it's getting to
Oh,
be the holiday
absolutely.
season. Yeah.
It's Christmas, yes. I know, I just love connecting. So I just love chatting to children and parents and connecting. And yeah, you're fine. I mean, it's fine. I was in the woods, I was tapping, I was going, it's just one of those things. It was
Yeah.
just one of those days. So yeah. Anyway, that's me being brutally honest today.
So do you what do you like, all sorts of writing? I mean, do you like poetry and stuff? Like I'm a big poetry guy. I love poetry because poetry and lyrics are the same
Yes.
thing. Poetry is just lyrics for
I
music.
love poetry. I can't write it. So I love it. And actually, I do read aloud on my social media. One of the reasons is I did a PhD in HIV and drug use. So I looked after so many people from, very tough backgrounds who couldn't read or write. And, children who grew up in households that probably nobody read to them. So it's a nice thing that I can do, sharing other people's work and, reading. And funnily enough, I get a lot of comments from teenagers who listen before going to bed. I don't get tons of comments, but I think there's a bit of a teenage following there. So I love reading, and I love poetry. I can't write it, so
Yeah.
but yeah, love it, and I share some poetry read alouds as well on them.
So your field was within the HIV realm,
Yes,
correct? And so I mean, how
and
dark
sexual
was that
health.
for
Yes,
you? Because that's a pretty especially early on in the disease, and it still is, but it was a very terrible time
yes.
for people, right? How did that affect your mindset dealing with that?
Yes, I mean it did. So HIV and sexual health, it can be challenging and quite emotionally draining, and it's would be quite holistic. So when I went back as a consultant, I went part time because I actually needed that time for me in between, and I think that's probably why I started writing and I coach as well and doing other things because A, I needed the time, B, I was kind of seeing where things were ending, and with the individuals that I was getting, there was no way that life was going to change for them. So I used to say to a lot of them, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different outcome. But there was no way that a lot of those individuals were ever going to be able to change their lives around. That's all that they knew, all that they grew up with, tools that they had, the area that they were in, no money to change things. So how could you expect things to change for them? So yes, tough, challenging. I mean, no idea of what people go through, and what people have experienced.
Well, you have care for humanity. I mean, you wanted to help people in this field. The thing that's frustrating to, like, I know from an American standpoint, when it comes to HIV is like Magic Johnson, for example, okay, the
Mm,
basketball player. Everybody kind of brings him up because it's frustrating to people because here's this rich, polarizing guy. He gets HIV. and he's able to beat, somewhat beat the disease, so to speak. But then the common man, the poor man, they're dying from all of this. And I think it's frustrating because people get worked up about big pharmacy and all of
Mm,
that, and them taking advantage of us. It's like cancer, for example.
yeah.
Everybody's convinced that, and maybe if you don't want to touch this, that's okay. You're welcome to say. Um,
So, I mean, I'm lucky that I work in systems where, it's free treatment for
yeah,
people, and so we're very lucky here in the UK and Ireland with that, and that I, as a clinician, don't have to make those decisions, and there's no distinction or difference for me. Everybody's treated the same. People get what they need. I mean, there are issues, there are problems. I'm not saying that, but I'm just incredibly blessed that that's never been an
yeah,
issue for me. I can't imagine having to work in those healthcare systems. I have touched on private healthcare, but it's not been something that ever's really been massive interest to me,
yeah.
if I'm being honest with you. And probably the areas of medicine that I work in probably aren't massively lucrative, but we're very lucky. I think it's slowly being eroded, which is a shame, but we're very lucky that we have that here.
Well, and
um
I don't mean to take it to a negative tone, but I
no.
mean it is interesting to talk, especially to a doctor who's dealing with a disease like this. The thing about America, so you guys have like a governmental Medicare for every or medical for everybody,
Yes.
correct?
It's
Okay.
called a national health system. In Ireland, there's the HSE Health System Executive. So it's free in the UK. It's free treatment. Now it's got its limitations because you can't get certain treatments, whereas you could pay for them there. Um, but it's really, so for me as a doctor, I don't. There's no distinguishing money. Doesn't come into it, or certainly hasn't for me. And people get what they need as far as I'm concerned, and it makes no difference to me, their background, what they've done, whatever. It's for me purely about giving the right treatment to the right person at the right time, and doing the best by them. And so I'm incredibly lucky
Yeah.
with that. And okay, there's been issues and all of this stuff, but from my point of view as a clinician, I am glad that I've worked in that kind of system.
Yeah, no, it's an interest. We've tried. They've tried to suggest doing kind of a national type thing. They have programs and different things. But it's just kind of strange here because like the doctors, they have the pharmaceutical reps that come. They get big kickbacks for all of the all some of these new drugs and everything, and then they prescribe these drugs and they push them onto people, but people can't afford them here. And it's like you begin to wonder, do that would they rather have us sick for one, so that they can make money off of us, and would they rather just make money off of us instead of help us? That's kind of how Americans feel. I mean, I can't speak for every American, but I mean, I read a lot and I know the public outcry is there.
I mean, I'm not somebody that just wants to give people a tablet. That's not me.
Yeah.
There are, the way I look at it, it can be, it's like weeding. You can cut the weeds, or you can go into the roots. So, that was never really me as a clinician or philosophy. There are mind body connections into things. There's lifestyle, there's background. And that's not really the way everything is connected and holistic. So I understand where people are coming from, and it's very easy when you're in a different, we don't walk our patient's shoes. And I remember when I was training juniors, and they were laughing about certain things, and I was like, people have different priorities. And actually, as a clinician or a health provider, you laughing at them or judging them, all it does is push them away. And now I've had that. I've been patients many times, and I've been judged by doctors, and it's incredibly unpleasant, when you're on the receiving end of that. And I hope I've never done that to anybody else, as a clinician. But no, I understand. It's not really my philosophy. I much prefer to be holistic. I appreciate that I'm different, and I do coaching, and I've seen mind body connections in action. But that's a bigger question that's kind of I can't answer, I'm afraid. Yeah.
So you've you talk about mind body connection and all
Mm.
that. Could you tell me, could you elaborate more on that, I guess, for the listener? What types of things do you do um with what you're doing that deals with the mind and the body, that kind of change is different than like regular doctor?
So, I mean, I don't. So, I'm at the moment I'm having a break from medicine. So, I'm kind of focusing on creative stuff. And
Yeah,
I've done a bit of that at work, so a bit of tapping and meditation. I haven't been able to fully integrate it, but you certainly can see. Well, like for example, I was talking about a lot of these individuals in my PhD. They grew up in certain environments. Parents were alcoholics, drug users, sexually abused as kids, some of them physically abused. So you can see how that mindset and environment has changed them, and how that has, they are unlikely to break out of that with the best will in the world. It takes a
right.
lot to change all that. But also in the field of HIV, you could see a lot of individuals coming in, or guys coming in saying they have erectile problems, and when you kind of question them, it was psychological. So it was kind of due to the relationship, either they really liked the partner or they didn't, or there was something else going on, and how that manifested as illness, I suppose.
Yeah.
And certainly using tapping, and I've been doing a lot more lately, that kind of fear or anxiety, fight or flight, how that manifests, in the body as anxiety or stress, or sometimes as ill health. So how, I used to tell, especially with pelvic pain and erectile dysfunction, we're sending a lot of people to yoga and mindfulness and meditation and tapping, just to relax, and having conversations about relationships. Or people would come in and I'd be like, well, what's really going on? And they were coming in with back pain, but actually there was something entirely different going on in the life that was the main issue, and that was just the smoke screen.
Well, the human body is so strange anyway, I mean, it's like it's really amazing, but it's like wild how our minds can kind of tell us things are going wrong, and sometimes they're not, sometimes it is something completely different. Some people are more tapped in than others to what's happening in their body. I've always been pretty aware of what's going on, and I'll go to the doctor and they're like, that's not happening. And then I'll go back to them and they're like, oh yeah, it is happening. And it's like, well, I told you, like I'm telling you, this is, I know my body, I know what's going on. But it doesn't sound like when these people come in with like erectile dysfunction, there's a
Mm,
lot of different factors that
yeah,
can obviously
absolutely.
come to that, other than just the water that won't work.
Oh, absolutely. Like, I know with me, I get lots of sinus issues, and I know it's usually heart. So it's usually I'm grieving something, or there's something coming up. Like, I had a bad work situation, ended up with PTSD and birth trauma. I was like 8.5 stone, and I had treatment for that. It totally transformed my life. But I was getting a lot of urinary tract infections and this, that, and the other. I was just so run down and exhausted by everything.
Yeah.
So it just manifests in different ways. But like you say, like, I know my body. I know, oh, it's the sinuses. Okay, what's going on? What's really going on? What am I sad about at the moment? What's upsetting me? That kind of stuff.
Well, I think people need to know too, though. I mean, doctors they're doing their best, right? I mean, you
Mm,
come
of
in.
course.
I think we tend to go in and we think, well, we're just going to lay out a few of these scenarios to you guys, and you guys are just going to know exactly what's going on and what to do. But there's a lot more than that, right? I mean, it's a lot of a process of elimination, really trying to look at it in a smart way. You guys are connecting the dots on things you've seen in the past, what you've read about. I think that we just sometimes think that you guys, as doctors, are, almost like wizards, or like, and you are in a way, but like we just feel like you should instantly know what we have going on, but that's not the case. Sometimes there's a lot of digging that has to be done.
Yeah, I mean, we're human. Nobody's infallible. And yeah, sometimes it's not clear. Sometimes, well, some things you have to watch and wait. And it's really funny. I've just sometimes I've just had these sixth sense about the patients, and it doesn't make sense. I've done this, I've done that, and it's worked out that it's
Yeah.
that. But it's just a spidey sense that you get of, okay, is it this or is it that? Um, certainly where I worked, there was a lot of discussion. We discussed. I have no problems discussing. I have no ego about things. I just want patients to be better. So I have no problems going in and saying, I've not sure what's going on, and being open with people and saying, I don't fully know, and getting a consultation or getting somebody else to have a look. And I think, that's normal and healthy. We've all seen different things. We all have different experiences.
What do you think with these senses? Do you think you've ever had any sort of like psychic intuitions or anything like
Of
that?
course. Yeah, no, I have. I am quite psychic. So I have. Certainly with patients, sometimes I'll have somebody walk in and I've gone like, this person's been sexually abused. I was at a conference a few years ago, big HIV conference in Glasgow, and it was a funny story. I just couldn't sleep the night before. It's every hour. It's like 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock. Went to this conference, and I remember it was lunchtime, and there was a talk at HIV and aging. I was just like, what the hell's going on? It was like waves of fear, waves of fear. So I remember walking out and just going to a friend, if you've got anything to relax me, I don't know what's wrong with me. Like, whatever. And I left the conference for a bit. And anyway, I came back and the woman had been murdered in the toilets at that time.
Oh wow.
And I was just getting abuse, sexual abuse in my head. And I was like, where is this coming from? What, do you know what I mean? And funnily enough, they kept it quite quiet. It was one of the security guards, and they kept the conference going, although we all got questioned by the police the next day. But it's a big conference center. It brings in a lot of money to that city. So yeah, I do what I have. So that takes me on to the coaching stuff. So sometimes I'd have patients and I'm like, there's a whole lot of grief sitting in that chest, or there's this or there's that. So I'd have very different conversations with some of my patients about things.
I love talking to people who have psychic intuitions. I actually produce a podcast of a very a very I would say pretty prominent intuitive person,
Yeah.
and just the things that pop into I she says that we all have these psychic intuitions, like she says that she can tell when people are healers, she can tell when people are this and that. And I've always felt pretty empathetic for people, like maybe like I could feel a room, and maybe it was good for me,
Mm.
maybe it wasn't. Like when I was an entertainer, I could easily feel the room out and see like this is gonna work and not gonna work. And it wasn't just like um, I don't know. It was just kind of an intuition. So maybe there's something there. I've always felt like there's nothing there, but it is interesting how I feel like that. What the story you just told me sounds like you had a total, psychic thing going on. I mean, you were tapped into everything that happened. Like it affected your being completely.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, so that was the thing that made me go, I actually can't hide from this anymore. I tried for a long time.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, I saw my second child when I met my husband. And so when I had my first child, I was convinced that it was a different sex, that they were going to come first. So when it turned out they were a different gender, I was like, what's going on? I literally I saw them. I saw them
Yeah.
um, with a passed over loved one. I think also that was probably one of the reasons why, as a clinician, needed to not work as much, because especially working the area of medicine that I did, it was just a sponge. And, I was exposed to a lot of dark stuff because people had been through a lot. And I needed that time to just kind of not be exposed to that stuff, because it was just all being soaked in. But we are sensitive. We pick up on other people.
But do you think that women are probably, I mean, I don't know this to be true, but when you hear stories throughout history, it's always like a female is like the psychic, or we're reading the crystal ball and all that. And I don't mean to make that comparison, but do you think women are more intuitive than men?
I don't. I think it's probably a bit more acceptable. I know certainly
Yeah.
both my children are very sensitive, and I know that my husband is much more sensitive than he realizes or allows himself. But some of us have been ridiculed. I have. I've had people say, "Oh, look at your crystal friends," and this is family members do that, and people at work make comments, and I was stalked, and part of that was people were anonymous letters, and they were making fun of me, chakra readings and all of this stuff, and it was incredibly unpleasant. So that there's that whole being ridiculed and made fun of, and it scares a lot of us. There's a lot of trauma of the witch wound of all those witch trials from years ago that's sitting in us, and that's left a lot of fear sitting around in there. There's also quite a bit of misuse. So I'm in some groups, and people will go light and love, and just light and love and whatever, and it's like, no, if something shitty's been done, something, sorry,
No,
crappy's
you're
been
okay.
done,
Yeah.
it's been done. Don't light and love me. Don't gaslight me. You've
Yeah.
done something bad, or this person's done something bad. You can do light and love as much as you want. It's okay for me to feel angry if you've done something bad. It's okay for me to feel scared if something terrible's happened. It's normal. So try, gaslight me and say light and love, let it go, positive thoughts. No, crap that. If that needs to come out. But I think there was a lot of fear of that part, and I know for me, I was petrified, so that moment in the conference, I was kind of like, I can't hide from this anymore. That was quite a big thing. I remember going to somebody who I was working with, and she was like, yeah, no, the individual had been sexually abused, because I was like, where am I getting this? But that was a defining moment for me where I just couldn't hide from it anymore.
And this is great stuff. Well, I hate to pause us on this, but I do have to pause for some sponsors. I'll mention a couple right now. Here, you're not in the Lincoln area, but if you're ever in Lincoln, Nebraska, smack dab in the middle of of the United States, we have some great businesses. If you like tattoos, we have Sliding Tattoo. Bryce is the best in the business, and all the other ones are Boring Bob's and Boring Betty's Ink Emporiums, but not him. So go to Sliding Tattoo. Also, we've got Roots Music Shop, everybody. I'm a musician. All you musicians out there want to be musicians, go to Ryan, check him out. He's got the best instruments and deals in town, and tell him that Cain sent you. We're going to pause for a commercial from the Elegant Sasquatch, and we will be back here with my wonderful guest.
Hey there, grooming gurus. We've got something wild for you today.
That's right, folks. Get ready to tame the untamed with products that redefine the beard game. Introducing the Elegant Sasquatch Grooming Company.
Elegant Sasquatch, that sounds like a contradiction, doesn't it?
Well, grooming should be an adventure, my friend, and with these products, you'll embark on a journey to the grooming wilderness.
So, what makes the Elegant Sasquatch so unique?
It's all about taking your beard from beastly to beautifully wild. Picture this: you wake up and your beard looks like it just got back from a spa day. That's the magic of their high end beard balms.
Spa day for the beard? Sign me up. And let's not forget their beard butters and oils. It's like giving your beard a tropical vacation. I'm talking about a beach party for your facial hair.
A beach party for the beard. This company's got the best marketing ever.
Oh, but we're not done yet, folks. The Elegant Sasquatch Grooming Company also has beard washes that make shower time a majestic experience.
Showering with Sasquatch, that sounds like a reality show.
It does, but seriously, listeners, if you want to sophisticate your outer beast, head over to elegantsasquatchco.etsy.com and use the code Super Show at checkout for an exclusive discount of 20% off.
You can also find them on Facebook and Instagram. Check them out, like them, and while you're at it, tell them the Super Show sent you.
All right. Well, I'm no longer going to tell you guys I'm sorry about going to my sponsors. Sponsors are good. They're not necessarily keeping the lights on, but they are keeping me fueled up and going. So thank you to my sponsors. Go out and get those products and go to those places and just support the show, everybody. So I've got a wonderful guest. If you haven't been listening, you're now tuning in halfway. Shame on you. Go back and go back and listen to the first half because it was great. But I have an author, a doctor on here, Saloni Surah. Did I say it better
Yeah,
this time?
you did,
Oh,
yeah.
yay! All right, hey, I learned. I can't believe it. And we're just talking about she's an author. We're gonna get into her book here, but everybody who's listened to the show knows that I'm kind of a freaky guy. I like to get into the weird stuff here, and I'm not gonna get like too foul or anything, but I'm gonna ask you some strange questions, and we'll just see how it goes. I really want from your perspective, from
Hmm.
a British person's perspective, I'm dying to know the answers to some of this. So my first
Okay.
question to you is, do you guys eat hot dogs, or do you even know what a hot dog is?
I know what a hot dog is. We do, but not that much. So
Yeah,
that, yeah, they're more of an American thing. I
probably
mean, I
not
don't
as
eat a
much as
lot of
us,
meat.
right?
Yeah,
Have
yeah.
you ever heard corn dog in your life? Do you guys eat corn dogs?
I'm not sure. See, I don't eat a lot of meat, so I'm
Yeah.
probably the wrong person to ask. So that, they're not that common. I did see them somewhere lately, but I can't remember where. It might be in soft play with the kids or something.
What
So
is your
yeah.
what do you eat around there? I mean, what do you personally like? Like, what's your favorite dish that you're making every week?
Well, we eat a lot of pasta. My husband's Italian, so we eat a
Hmm.
lot of pasta.
Oh man.
That's the life basically. But yeah, he cooks a lot of it. I'm not allowed to cook pasta.
And the
That's up to
legit
him.
stuff, right? I mean, he's not messing around. He's cooking the real deal. Not that store-bought garbage. He's putting in
Oh
work,
yeah,
right?
yeah. No, yeah. When you have kids, you just we pay if we give them sugar. It's
Yeah.
not worth it. So
Yeah. Well,
uh,
next time I'm in England, which will probably be never, but if I am, I will impose and I will show up to your house. And I hope that
do.
your husband makes an amazing pasta for me. That'd be awesome.
Oh yeah, I hope he does. Yeah, he's a good cook. It's certainly the Italians, they eat a lot less kind of ready food and takeaway food than here. So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's do you guys go to pubs? Does everybody like the thought in America is that everyone goes to a pub all the time? Like that's like their whole life in England. Is that
Um
true?
I used to go before I had kids. I don't so much now because some of them are not that child friendly, or you're
Oh,
looking for somewhere for them to play. That there's the whole mine are quite young still, so there's the whole glasses and stuff being smashed. So for me, it's trying to find somewhere that's got playthings for them or where they can run around. So I don't go that much now. I used to in my 20s, 30s,
well,
when I was
well, it's crazy
young,
that
free
they
and
don't have
single.
more bars for kids to come to, right? Oh, wait, probably because it's not a good place. Unlike my childhood, like when my childhood, my parents like worked at the bar and everything. So I was always at the bar. So I like
Yeah.
when I became a musician, it was easy for me because it's like I already
Yes.
know the bar humor. I already know how to get bar people all riled up because I grew
Yes.
up around them my whole life. So, but yeah, it's not a great place for kids, especially when they smoked back then. I mean, people
Yes,
wonder why like
absolutely.
people get lung cancer later on in life, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, I never smoked." Well, it's like, yeah, but your parents smoked like 20 packs a
Mm,
day into your house. But it's hard to say. But what's another thing I,
hindsight.
I was dying to ask you? Do you guys have any like you know what a cryptid is? You ever heard of a cryptid?
No, what's
So
scripted?
cryptozoology is basically like all the weird monsters and things that people see, like
Oh,
Bigfoot, the Loch Ness monster.
yes.
You guys have you ever had any experiences with any of that or know anybody? You're walking around in the woods. Have you ever experienced anything that you can't explain?
Things like in museums and stuff, or you're talking about things like the Loch Ness Monster and
Like
stuff like
monsters
that.
and stuff, like creatures or like
Yes, I
like
mean,
fairies and sprites.
well, yeah, I write about fairies, so I totally believe in fairies and elves and sprites and things. Yes, I mean, there's a Loch Ness Monster, there's kind of Dartmoor, Exmoor, and the Hounds of Baskerville. Every so often, there's stories of cats seen in remote areas or wild animals. So yes, I mean, probably less because it's much densely populated and much smaller country. But yeah, yeah.
Right.
But as for fairies, yeah, they totally exist. So
But you
I'm a
guys
fairy
do
lover.
have you do have a lot of ghost stories, especially
Mm,
in London and well, really just all over the country. I mean, you guys have such a history there. I'm a history buff. I love learning about, well, oddly, you guys' history. It's fascinating,
mm.
like all the war and all the things that happened in that area. But I mean, have you ever encountered a ghost, or have you ever had anybody that you know live in a haunting?
I have, but my mind is going blank. I mean, I have quite a few psychic friends. I have one person around here who does quite a bit of paranormal stuff.
Yeah.
I know quite people do medium stuff, but there's a pub in town that's like a haunted hotel here. And there's in Chester they used to do ghost tours. I don't know whether they still do. They certainly have lived in Dublin for years, do ghost tours. Have I experienced any? I'm not sure. I mean, we've all walked into rooms and houses or places where we've gone, I don't particularly like it in here. I'm going to exit this room quite quickly. You
Right.
can't explain why, but you're like, not, yeah, don't like it, don't want to be in here. I'm gone.
Well, are you a
In old
believer, I
houses.
guess is what I'm asking. And it's okay if you're
Yes.
not. I like the other side. I like to hear. I do paranormal investigation on the side.
Okay. Oh, do
Uh,
you? Yes. I mean, I certainly believe in, ghosts or things that I haven't passed over, being stuck places, and all of that stuff. It's not something that I've delved into too much, like I say, but I've certainly walked into places. Can't think of anything off my head where I've gone, don't like this room. I'm going to exit here fairly quickly.
yeah,
I wouldn't want to be sleeping in here, put it that way.
yeah, absolutely. What about near death experiences? I mean, have you ever talked to anybody who had a near death experience? I've been talking about this a lot with
Mm,
people. Been watching a lot of YouTube videos. It's extremely interesting because
mm,
everybody kind of has the same things happen, but it's so different what people have. Like some people will tell you, I was a former pastor and I went to heaven and God said you're going to hell because you weren't good enough. And then the next guy's like, I, I went to heaven and I saw this amazing light and I saw. But it's extremely interesting what people have to say. I personally don't believe a lot of naysayers believe that, of course, when we die our brains, release, all sorts of chemicals. I believe that, but they think that we're just having like a massive like LSD type trip, when we die and then that's it. But
mm.
I don't believe that. I really don't because there's people who come back and
Yes.
they can tell us things, like they died on the table and they came back and they can tell us all these interesting things. Like they saw their body, they saw a family member in the other room. They can describe it. What do you think about that? I mean, do you think there's any credence to any of that?
Yes, I think so. I don't know anybody who has, but funnily enough, I am going to a womb workshop and a concert this week, with a woman who has. So I've read quite a few books, but I just personally haven't, until this week, met anybody who has had that to happen to them.
Yeah.
There's the big author, what's her name? Anita Morjani. I read a couple or two of her books. This is Heaven and something else. So she had a big near death experience. And she's big with, Hay House. So she talks about a lot, but I just haven't, just haven't crossed paths up until now.
Well, I refuse to believe, as beautiful as the world is and everything. I refuse to believe that we're simply, biological beings that just happen and then we don't. I have such a hard time believing, and it's not that I want to. Well, I do want to, but it's not like I sit around and I think to myself, well, I just want to believe this. So
Yeah.
I believe it in my heart that we're souls. We have souls. Whatever you don't even have to get into the religious aspect of it.
Yes.
You could just look
I
at it
agree.
as
Yeah.
the universe, for example. Like when I talked to the intuitive on that show,
Yes.
look at the world at a bigger picture, right?
I
Look
mean,
at
I
it
do.
as we're souls in this beautiful universe, and we just don't understand the big picture because we're alive, right? We're not dead.
I mean, I do past life work with people, and I have. So there is this temple in Sicily, up in Arache. It's a Venus temple, and I remember
Mhm.
going there. I went there. Well, I couldn't get into it this October, but I went 5 years ago with my husband. Actually, 5 years to exactly the same week, and we ended up going there by random, and there's not very much there. But I remember going in and just having this vision of this woman, and sacred prostitutes. And I didn't know at the time that this was Venus Temple, a sacred prostitute site. And I remember leaving there going, wow. So I need to write a book about that because it's a very strong story. I've got a bit of a backlog, so I'm trying to get my kids' books done first. I've got a couple of adults there too. And then I went back again this year, but it was closed. But even just being up there, I could feel that energy, and I felt I saw a few more of the women. So I don't know whether that's past life or whether it's just the energy of the place that I'm picking up. But certainly, I do believe that our souls um, have more than one experiences. And I've certainly done work with people on that and myself.
Can we elaborate that on that just for a moment? Because that's very interesting to me. The past lives thing is in like it's like the little kids, right? That like they would have no knowledge of anything, and they're talking about these things that happen and like dying on the Titanic and
Hmm.
like and like being the captain and all this stuff. Like this is real stuff, right?
Yes, well, I've certainly worked through some of that stuff myself and with other people. I know to some people it sounds totally crazy, but again, often there are similar themes in the past that's coming up in this life that's been carried through. I don't know what I saw when I went to that site, whether it was past lives or whether it was, you know, the energy of the place. But certainly I then went and read up on it in Sicily, and it was a sacred prostitute site, and it did talk about that element of it. So, you know, with clients, there are often similar themes that are coming up in their lives, and similar people, you know, different aspects, or, you know, partners, or, you know, mums or brothers or sisters that are different characters or players in this aspect, this lifetime.
Well, let's you know, I want to give you your opportunity. Let's talk about your upcoming book. You know, you got freaky with me there for a second. We talked about some strange stuff. And now let's get down to business. You know, I brought you on because I did want to talk about your books were interesting to me as well. Tell me more about the books that you're writing, your upcoming book, and where you can find all of your work.
Great. So this is my first book. It's Flora Investigates, the case of the missing gold egg. So this is an early reader, so about 7 to 10-year-olds, but I've had teenagers and adults read it. So it depends whether you're like an eternal kid like me. Now this is set in Italy, and it's loosely based on my husband's friends and family. So Flora is a 10-year-old detective, and she's got to find a missing gold egg laying chicken. And she meets a lot of interesting characters, a dastardly hunter who loves cheese and flies, and so that's a dastardly pirate, dastardly hunter, a pirate who loves cheese and flies, and a lot of cats. But it's really imbued with magic, and it's a book about a girl who has a dream. You know, I looked after so many people who had such a tough life that I wanted to inspire children to dream and to know that they could do anything and break societal norms. You know, she's a girl. Nobody wants to employ a girl detective. My next book is a fairy book, so that's middle grade. So 8 to 12, and that is called The Last Fairy Guardian. I'm hoping that'll be out in February. We're just finishing off at the moment. And it's about a forbidden friendship between a fairy and a human girl. So wings are at risk. The fairy forest is under threat because of humans. So it's really about you know, how we all get our wings clipped in life, and often by people who love us, and how we get them back, and the power of forgiveness. So those are my two at the moment. I have a lot of other ones. So I have next, I'm hoping to pick up my mermaids, which are YA book, and that's about mermaids washing up dead, half transformed. My very first book was about dragons. It needs a total rehaul. And then, like I alluded, I've got some adult stuff. So there's one I plan to write about that sacred prostitute site, and a stalking book, and then probably some coaching stuff. So power of forgiveness and the gift and anger. So I've got a lot of books that have been sitting there for a long time that I'm hoping to get out now the next few years and just let them go and write some new stuff.
Man, that's awesome stuff. And I love that, especially kids books, because you're taking a certain message and you're allowing the kids to dream. You know what I mean? Books are amazing. We should get away from TV and we should go back to reading more where we have imaginations. It kills our imagination because it paints it is amazing like what they can put out on the screen and what they can, don't get me wrong, I love it. I watched a ton of movies, a ton of things, but there's nothing like sitting down and reading the book. Like, say, Stephen King, for example, not the same thing as what you're doing. I don't know if you've ever read a Stephen King book in your life,
Have,
but
yeah.
when you read them and then you go watch the movie, you love the movie, but it literally is like 1,000 times better reading the book because you
Yes.
get super into it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I have a funky imagination. I always have. I always daydreamed a lot as a child. So it's fun for me to escape into these worlds and escape the mundaneness of life. But because I'm somebody who's witnessed a lot, I will deal with heavy themes, you know,
Mhm.
having our wings clipped, which is an incredibly painful thing to do. Like, it's basically being disempowered. And how do you get that back? And how do you forgive and move on from that?
Right.
You know, and dreaming, you know, Flora, she keeps on going. It's not easy, but she keeps on going till she finds this gold egg laying chicken. That really is about just don't give up. anything is possible if you believe and you keep on going for it. You know, I've got a farty elf one that I need to write for my boy. So, you know, an elf joining the annual farting competition. So that one I'm looking forward to do. So I want to write some of the some new stuff for my children now I've got them, because these were, I think I might have been pregnant with my eldest when I was doing this one, but these are, you know, older books. But yeah, I mean, I love to inspire, and they're imbued with magic. It's really, I love transformation. You know, that's why I coach, and the books, and um, you know, part of the medicine that I did was you know, I love transformation. So I love to see people change and move forward and be the best that they can be, really, and know that they can do it. I think so little of what we get told is positive. You know, when
Yeah.
I was growing up, so little, you know, so few people told me I could do it and that I was good enough. In fact, nobody did. You know, and I make a big effort with my children to try and do that at night and say you are good enough and you can do anything. And you know, it's so sad that so little of what is said to our children is positive and uplifting, and that you're good enough and you can do it.
Well, and that's key is and to anybody listening is if you have a dream, if you have something going on, I mean, here I'm doing a podcast. I keep doing all these podcasts. I produce I do all this stuff. Just keep grinding it out. Just don't give up. Keep doing it. Just like me as a musician, you as a doctor, you as an author, you can make this stuff come to light if you try. Just keep trying. Sometimes you'll fail. Sometimes you'll get backlash. Sometimes you'll have things happen, but if you keep trying, you're going to accomplish something, and that's the key here. I mean, I'm not famous by any means. I don't really care if I get famous, but I do enjoy this experience of life, and I manifested it myself just by this is what I want to do. This is what I'm into, and here we are today. So I think you're doing wonderful work with your books,
Thank
especially
you.
with helping kids. Kids are more than just the future. Kids are so important, and sometimes we just shove them down, don't we? Not me personally, but I'm saying like it's the world shoves kids down and pretends like they're nothing, and that's not true at all. Kids are amazing.
I mean, that's it. I mean, what's been so powerful for me having my own is probably how little good, positive talk I had said to me when I was growing up, which makes me incredibly sad.
Mhm.
How you know, it's just programmed, um, you know, and I think that's really sad.
Yeah.
You know, and of course then that filters into futures. We don't support each other. You know, I did a podcast a couple of weeks ago, these two absolutely gorgeous 15-year-old girls, and we were talking about body image and addiction, and you know, I was like, girls, you know, we've just got to support each other and say well done and be there for each other, because you know it can be bitchy, but you know, no, well done, you did a great thing, you're amazing. But how often do we do that,
Yeah. Well,
especially
and is it
guys?
is it a different experience for women too? I mean, in general, like is I don't know what it's like to be a girl growing up, but I can imagine it's pretty hard. In the fact that if you're not being encouraged or you're, like that's the weird thing is like I think in today's day and age, I feel like it is kind of a golden age. Like women are successful, women are doing things, women are coming out. I mean, in my household, because of a health situation that I have, I'm now a stay-at-home dad, and my wife is the one that goes to work, and I don't have any shame about it. And I'm extremely proud of my wife for how smart she is, how
Hmm.
amazing she is, and the things that she does. But I mean, many years ago, that would have never happened, right? We would have probably just folded as a family.
Yeah.
And but today's a great. But what can you tell the young women out there? That are being kind of shoved down, what can you tell them? Because you've accomplished some things, even through adversity.
I think, you know, you can do it. And even if everyone is telling you can't, you can. There is something inside of you that's totally unique and totally wonderful that nobody else has. And, you know, try and find those people that can lift you up and to not lose sight of who you are. But you are amazing as you are, and you can do it. And, you know, also to the boys, like I really worry about, you know, I've got a really sensitive boy, and, you know, men boys are far more sensitive than we realize. And, if they've been told they can't be all their life, I see it with my husband, he's much more sensitive. I was saying this the other week, he's much more sensitive and intuitive than he gives himself credit for, but he's had to dumb that down. And I don't want that to happen to my boy. And I don't want that to be acceptable, I just think I just think it's so sad that, hence the TV talk and the whole, it's just murder. Like this is a mystery that nobody's murdered. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which is a rare thing. And don't get me wrong, murder mysteries are great, but it's just like I was watching all these programs that was just murder, 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 and I was like, it's not making me feel good.
There's a lot more mysteries in the world than just murder, right? I mean, the mystery to me is like, where did my other sock go most of the time, right?
Yes, absolutely. Anyway, I've digressed here. I thought we were going to talk about patients stealing toilets and all that stuff. Toilet seats. Yeah.
Well, I enjoyed this conversation with you. I hope maybe we can have a part 2, but I felt like this is great. I know we're running around on time, so I want to give you the opportunity now to plug whatever you want, be it a website, be it where to find your books and everything before we have to go.
Great. So my books are on Amazon. So they're on Amazon worldwide. Flora Investigates the Case of the Missing Gold Eggs. I will have The Last Fairy Guardian out next year. I also have a website, SaloniSurah.com. So you can buy my book through there. That's affiliate links, also links to read alouds and coaching. So I do take a small select number of coaching clients because of the energetics, and I have young children. So I have that. I also have a couple of social media channels where I have tapping videos and I have read alouds. So I have TikTok, Saloni Surah coach, not couch, and they're read alouds and tapping videos, and Facebook and Instagram at Saloni Book, and Facebook Saloni Surah Author, again, read alouds and tapping videos. And I've just started a YouTube channel where I'm just trying to put all my read alouds in one place. So if you want to just put on and listen to some books, or put your kids down for some books, I'm slowly migrating them over to At Bedtime Stories by Saloni. So that's what's out there.
Well, thank you so much. You've been an awesome guest, and with that accent of yours, I'd listen to you read about anything, but put what you're reading in front of like a Southern American audience, and I don't know. I think the book would be great, but I don't know if I'd want to listen to the reader. So we'll listen to you any day. So
thank you so much.
You've been an awesome guest, and I hope you've had fun on the Super Show, and I hope to talk to you again sometime.
Yeah, I really enjoyed myself. Thank you for having me on.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Lincoln, Nebraska. Here is your host,